Hi, I'm Michael Trimboli, and welcome back to my channel. You may notice this video is coming a little later than usual. Normally I post these videos at the beginning of each month to review the prior month, but unfortunately I've been dealing with some personal issues the last few weeks that have just been kind of sapping my creativity. And yeah, so it's been kind of a bit of a struggle, but here we are. And yeah, let's get into what I've been doing in the month of October. So, one thing that was strange about the month of October was that it seemed to rain every weekend during the month, which made it kind of difficult to do fun activities. But I still tried. Uh, the first weekend of the month, my wife and I went to an apple orchard in Hudson Valley with a few friends of hers. And unfortunately, there was torrential rain at some points, and it just made it very difficult. But I did try to get a couple images here and there. The weekend after that, my wife and I went to a Rutgers football game in New Brunswick, New Jersey. I had never been to a Rutgers football game. I actually went to the Newark campus of Rutgers, so which technically doesn't have a football team, but I just adopted Rutgers as my personal college football team for whatever that's worth, which is not very much because Rutgers is never a title contender. So do with that what you will. But it was pretty fun. But again, it just rained. It just got progressively worse during the game, and we actually wound up leaving at halftime just because we couldn't sit through all the rain, and it kind of sucked because they were playing Michigan State. Michigan State was leading at the half, but Rutgers actually came back after we had left and won the game. So I was a little bummed I couldn't see that, but I still got some great shots. I actually shot all the photos that I took at the game with my phone, just because Rutgers and college football teams in generally discourage people from bringing cameras into their stadiums, or professional cameras anyway. Anyway, I didn't want to risk getting uh, shut out of the stadium. So I just decided to just take my phone with me and use that as my camera. And I got some decent shots with it. And you'll see some of those coming up. Later in the month, I went to Lincoln Center to see an opera with my wife. And, obviously, I didn't bring my camera with me then. But I did take some photos in the lobby outside of the actual theater where the opera was held. The lobby at Lincoln Center is just absolutely gorgeous, and I just couldn't resist taking a few photos while I was there during the intermissions. And yeah, it, I think the thing about using your phone as your camera is it does test your creativity. Even though phones in general aren't, they're not at the point where they can be distinguishable from camera photos, and you wouldn't want to use them for a professional shoot. But I think for someone who is just trying to get photos wherever they can, or someone who's just interested in photography in general, it is useful. And if you know how to manipulate the camera, or if you possibly have apps that can do things. I have a long exposure app on my phone that I paid $5 for that is really useful at times. And I also use Lightroom on my phone sometimes to edit my photos. So so I think phones, just for the record, I have an iPhone 14 Pro. Um, and yeah, I think phones in general, they have a place in the photography ecosystem, even if they're not on the same level as a DSLR or a mirrorless camera. I also went to the Metropolitan Museum of Art during the month. They have a great exhibit of Edward Degas, or Edward Manet rather, and Edgar Degas. They're of paintings by the two artists in conversation with one another. Is a spectacular exhibit. If you're in New York between now and I believe January, I would highly recommend going to see this show, because you see some artwork that you really can't see unless you make a trip to Paris at some point, because there's a lot of paintings from the Musée d'Orsay that I've never seen in person before. I also went into Manhattan to see some friends for Halloween, and I did manage to get a few pictures in around where the parade was happening. And I also got a really cool picture, I felt, on the subway on the way back, of a guy in a Scream mask looking or appearing to look at this woman who is paying absolutely no attention to this person. And I just thought it was such a cool New York image that, I just, in the moment, I had to take the photo, and it just turned out better than I could have anticipated. So yeah, before I show you some of the photos I took in the month of October, I do want to say that sometimes it's okay to take a break from creative activities to prioritize your mental health. I think some of us in creative fields kind of feel like being creative is a way to address our mental health, to like give us the space for like maybe blowing off steam or just getting some kind of a release. But I also think that there's got to be a balance between consumption and production. And you don't want to have too much of one or too much of the other. And also, to be honest, sometimes life does get in the way, and you have to address things that affect your ability to pay the bills or keep a roof over your head. And yeah, that's obviously, sometimes that's a priority more than just going out and taking photos or doing these videos. But I will say that once you prioritize that, once you have those priorities in line, and I'm not saying that I do necessarily, I'm still trying to figure it out, as we all are, I suppose. But once you do have those priorities in line, more or less, it can be a lot easier to kind of know how to proceed with creative endeavors such as photography. So anyway, let me shut up and give you these photos from the month of October.